Welcome back to another episode of the Diabetes Digital Podcast presented by Food Heaven. In today's mini-sode, we are talking about why people feel worse when they try to eat clean, and I'm using clean in air quotes. So a lot of people tell us they feel more tired, more irritable, hungry, or out of control around food when they try to eat clean. And this can feel really confusing, especially when clean eating is marketed as the healthy way to eat. And you see all the influencers showing you their clean meals on Instagram. But today we're going to unpack what clean eating actually means, why it often backfires, and what might feel more supportive instead. If you're someone living with diabetes, prediabetes, PCOS, or you just want personalized nutrition advice from a registered dietitian covered by insurance, visit diabetesdigital.co to connect with one of our culturally aware, weight inclusive dietitians. And by the way, if you love our show, don't forget to rate and review us on iTunes or Spotify because it makes a huge difference and helps people discover our show. Also, want to mention up top for any additional resources or show notes, head to diabetesdigital.co/podcast, and we will have everything I talk about there.
Welcome to the Diabetes Digital Podcast. I'm Wendy.
And I'm Jess, and we're best friends, registered dietitians, and diabetes educators.
Through our telehealth platform, diabetesdigital.co, we offer accessible and personalized virtual nutrition counseling for people with diabetes and prediabetes.
Visit diabetesdigital.co, that's C-O, to book your first appointment. We accept insurance and offer affordable self-pay options. Now, let's get into today's episode. First, before we jump in, we have to start with definitions. So, what does clean eating even mean? There's no medical or scientific definition of clean eating, but it usually implies things like cutting out certain foods or food groups, labeling foods as good or bad, eating in a way that feels rigid or rule-based, or prioritizing purity over practicality. This framing is definitely, absolutely 100% rooted in diet culture and is often not actual science. So why do people feel worse typically when they eat clean? There's 5 main reasons, and I'm going to go through them all. So number 1 is you are probably, most likely, definitely not eating enough. Cutting out foods often leads to underfueling, even if it's unintentional. And it's so funny because even me, when I'm eating what I would consider sometimes like healthier meals, or I go to a restaurant and it's like a salad-based meal, I often am like, this is not enough food. I'm going to be hungry later unless I add this and that and this, like, some bread with butter or whatever it is. So it's very easy to not eat enough when you are eating, quote, clean, because oftentimes clean eating is jam-packed with vegetables and not much else. And vegetables don't really have many calories. The second reason people typically feel worse when they're eating clean is because carbohydrates are usually restricted. And restricting carbs often leads to fatigue, brain fog, irritability, and intense cravings, especially cravings for carbs. So if that is you and you know that you are having these meals, like I'll see people again post online and it's like my perfect breakfast. And I'm like, but where's the carbs? You may not feel great. And if you notice that you run out of energy or you feel hangry later or just irritated all the time, like that is definitely me when I don't have enough carbs. And me personally, not that it should be about me or compare and contrast, but I find that if I don't have at least 45 grams of carbs per meal, like I'm not going to be happy. And so even when I'm like at friends' houses and, maybe they're having, again, like a meal that, you might feel full physically, but then I get like really irritated, hangry. I'm like, where's the carbs? So if that happens to you, you are not alone. That is a normal response. Okay, the third reason why people often feel worse eating clean is the meals lack satisfaction. When fat, flavor, or variety are missing, hunger tends to return very quickly. Okay, so you need to add that satisfaction, that flavor factor. Reason number 4 is stress hormones increase. Food rules can increase your cortisol, which impacts energy, mood, and blood sugar. The last but not least reason why people feel worse when eating clean is that the mental load increases. So if you're constantly thinking about food, weighing your food, measuring your food, thinking about what is allowed, what is not allowed, shopping for food every day because nothing is good enough, like that is going to take a toll and you're going to feel worse. A few other things I tend to hear from my patients who have tried clean eating is they have more food noise, stronger cravings, less energy for daily life, a worse relationship with food, and more blood sugar variability, not less. Again, because they're restricting carbs, so their blood sugar goes low, and then they're craving carbs, so their blood sugar goes high, and it just feels like you're on a roller coaster. The thing with that is that restriction often masquerades as discipline, but the body experiences it as stress. This is another reason why we tell people, this is a side note, but to try to eat breakfast within 1 or 2 hours of waking up. Because again, when you're not eating, the body looks at that as stress. It can create more cortisol, and in the long run, that is not good for you. So, what tends to feel better than clean eating? I'm just going to give you a couple of key takeaways. So, number one, and if you listen to this pod, you know, eat regularly and consistently. I personally recommend eating every 3 to 4 hours. If you need to eat more frequently than that, you might consider making your meals a little bit bigger or adding snacks. Include carbohydrates, protein, and fat at your meals, even if it's coming from packaged foods. I can't tell you the amount of people who will shy away from packaged foods because they think that they're not, quote, perfect. And then they tend to like undereat or binge on something else later. And it's like, we might as well just have included the packaged foods because processed foods can help us meet our nutrition needs. And I personally love relying on different processed foods to make eating easier for me. Just a quick example, I went grocery shopping this morning and I like to do like a mix and match. So maybe like a frozen pasta meal. I love the Rouse. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The Rouse like pasta sauce brand. They have really good frozen meals. And then I'll get frozen broccoli and cook them together and perfect. Have, at least 3 food groups there. Or I like to get like cans of tuna, which is technically processed, right? Because it's they're putting it in a can, they're chopping it up. So I like to get cans of tuna, mix that with some mayo and have that with crackers for a good snack. So there's so many ways processed foods can really help us meet our needs. Number 3 is focusing on addition rather than elimination. We are dietitians who are dietitians by addition, not subtraction. We're not going to tell you to cut out all these different foods. We're going to think about what can we add to add more variety, satisfaction, balance, and flavor. We also recommend people choose foods that are enjoyable and accessible. So if you're spending, $150 on protein powders or whatever it is, and you're actually on a budget and it's stretching you too much, then that would not be something I would recommend because there's so many cheaper options that you can potentially get that will be more accessible to you, right? And be cheaper. So just keeping that in mind, like we don't want to be spending our entire paycheck on these quote clean foods if it means that we're not able to enjoy other aspects of our life or meet our needs in other ways. And the last thing that feels better than clean eating is allowing flexibility instead of perfection. I always say a healthy diet is flexible. And if eating clean makes you feel worse, it's not a personal failure. It is a sign that restriction or underfueling is taking a toll on your body and mind. And your health comes from consistency and care, not from eating perfectly. If you want some support with untangling these food rules and finding an approach that actually feels better, our dietitians help people every single day with backing away from clean eating and allowing more deliciousness, variety, and nutrient dense foods that they love into their life without it feeling like a job and without it costing an arm and a leg. And the nice thing is we take insurance, so most of our patients don't pay anything at all. And I always encourage patients to use their benefits because typically you are paying, some kind of fee every month for your insurance. So you're kind of paying for these things anyways, like one way or another. So definitely use them and you're not paying on the back end to work with us. All right. So check us out, diabetesdigital.co, and we look forward to working with you. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode. If you're interested in nutrition counseling with one of our expert dietitians to help improve your prediabetes or diabetes, visit us at diabetesdigital.co.
Also, if you found our conversation helpful, do us a favor and rate and review this podcast on iTunes, plus share with someone who might find this helpful. You can also connect with us on Instagram at diabetesdigital.co.
And tune in every Wednesday for practical, inclusive, and culturally humble diabetes insights. We'll catch you later. Bye.